Hey guys, I'm coming to you this week with kind of a weird idea. I want to build a survival kit, and I know that seems silly to people who live in the city because honestly, survival in the city, basically if you have a generator in your house and groceries, you're fine. But I've been living out here away from cities. Right now I live within 15 minutes of a town, but as I travel across the United States, as I'm retired, I'm traveling in my RV, and I want to be traveling, and sometimes I want to be way off grid. So I need a survival kit, and not just for me, but if I come across somebody who's really cold or who needs a sleeping bag or something, I want to have it in my car. So I've been building this idea in my mind of what you would need to survive if you got out in the middle of the woods and ran out of gas and needed to stay there until somebody comes to rescue you or until you can get out somehow. So these are my thoughts. I'm thinking about shelter, water, food, fire. Fire is that thing that you always watch those shows, like those shows where they're alone out in the wilderness and everybody says, oh, I can make a fire, no problem. And then it comes to actually making the fire and it doesn't work. So I have several different ways to make a fire that I'm pretty sure no matter where I am, I can make a fire with the stuff that I got for this survival kit. So yeah, I'm trying to think of all the things you would need to support myself and my animals, my dogs and my cats, or to support a stranger if they were out in the middle of nowhere and, somebody was really going to freeze to death or something. Hopefully the things that I have in my survival kit would help. So that's what I'm doing. Sounds a little nutty, I know, but that's what I've been thinking about. All right, so let me start with the basics. Sleeping bag, tent, small tent from Amazon. It was also 20 bucks. It was really cheap. I figure even if you're inside and you're somewhere, like say you're in the RV and you're somewhere where you don't have electricity and it gets really cold outside all of a sudden, you could even put this up on your bed and just warm the inside of the tent, have the animals with you inside your tent, and that would keep you from having to warm the whole RV, So I think having a small tent is a good idea. This is an emergency tent. It's kind of like a tube, like a triangular tube, and you put a string up between two trees and put the string through here and it'll act like a little triangle tent. So I have that. I bought some string. I got some tools, very inexpensive tools, but in case you need to cut wood or, whatever. I've got a little saw and a little hedge clipper. These are emergency blankets. Some people say they're not very good for warmth, but I'm sure they'd be useful in some way, and they're so cheap. I got a bunch of them, and if it's in a survival situation, I'm sure you'd probably be glad to have that. These are for water. These are those purification pills that you can put in water. So I'm gonna always have like a gallon of water in my car, and then you could use that container in a creek or something and put a couple of these in there and shake it up, and you have to wait a minute for these to kill all the bacteria, but at least you would be able to, especially in your first few days, have water without worrying about it. I'm thinking if you're going to be somewhere long term, you could learn how to get water and then boil it. But in the first couple days, I don't think you're probably going to be up for all that. So these pills, I know I have at least 50 of them, so that's a lot, So I mean that could really help you out. This is a picnic blanket. It's plastic. I thought it might be helpful in some way. You could put it down under the tent or even use it inside the tent if you need to. Remember, I'm not like a survivalist. This would only be an extreme emergency, and also I don't want to spend a lot of money on this. So everything I purchased is less than 20 bucks, and a lot of it a lot less. And I just want to, have some tools available, because this is a thing. When you're out away from towns the way I am right now, sometimes you see people, even in little RVs that come into the park, and they don't look equipped, like their windows don't close, and you wonder if they have a heater in there, and it's like, you really worry about people. And the thing about being out in the middle of nowhere is that only the people around you are going to be available to help you. It's not like, it's not like you're going to call your friend who's lives 15 minutes away to come help you. You're going to need somebody nearby to help you. So I just want to be available. I have leaves on my vest. I'm going to have a pack of emergency food, and I'm putting it in this Christmas popcorn tin because I figure that'll keep it secure even if I have it in here for years. So the first thing I thought of was peanut butter. Peanut butter is good for the dogs and me. I think I could live on peanut butter if I had to, if it was a survival situation. And so I have a couple of jars of that. This is a container of shelf-stable milk. Doesn't need to be refrigerated. And it, of course, has an expiration date on it, so I can be checking that. Oh, the expiration is 2029, so this would be good for a while. So just have a thing of milk. I thought it might be nice to have. I ordered some grits online because grits were the only thing I could find that you don't really need to cook. You just need to add hot water to them and you can eat them. And, grits are delicious with salt. I think salt makes a lot of things taste better. So this is an old thing of salt. It's already solidified in there, but in a survival situation, you could, use it for salt. And I thought tuna and beans. Beans would get you through a long time of survival. Of course, these are a little bit more work. You'd have to soak them and then boil them. But in a survival situation, if you had a stream nearby or some water somewhere around, you could do that. And I have little pots and pans that I'm going to put in here too. I have little camping pans. They're about 2 cups and then 1 cup. Very lightweight aluminum, and they boil water really fast because they're so lightweight. And so I'm definitely going to have them. They were from a camping kit, actually. And they could also serve as bowls to eat out of as well. So I'm going to have that to boil the beans. Tuna. The cats could live on tuna, and also humans can live on tuna. Very nutritious. So, can't get very much in there. I also think if you see a homeless person that doesn't have food, I could always hand them a jar of peanut butter and some milk, something better than nothing. So yeah, so this will be my little food container. Thinking that if I am out with the cats and dogs and I need to go set up a tent somewhere, it would be nice to have everything in one bag. Also, I'm going to leave this bag in my car for the next several years, and so, or until it's used. And so I wanted to have everything put away in one container. This is an old suitcase. It's a rolling duffel bag, so it has wheels on it, which will help me because this stuff will be heavy when you put it all together. And yeah, I'll just have it sitting under my other stuff in my car. Just leave it there, in case somebody needs it. Okay, now I'm going to go into the fire thing, because to me, I think fire is really important. It's warmth and it's boiling water, because you need water and shelter and warmth, So those are things that I know I couldn't do without. So I put a lot of thought into the fire aspect, and let me share some of those ideas with you. The first thing I purchased are these manual fire starters. These, I think, are from World War I or something. But let me show them to you. In a survival situation, I would need to be able to get this open. Okay. Yeah, so I think the soldiers in, World War I, maybe World War II, used these to light their cigarettes. You have to singe the cotton rope, and I did singe it. And then, so there's the cotton rope, and then you spark it with a sparker. don't know if you can see the embers. So you've got an ember going there, and I worked on this, I used this in my wood stove, and I could not get anything lit with this ember. I believe it would light a cigarette. Can you see the ember? I don't know if you can see it or not. But I couldn't get anything I couldn't get any paper or anything else lit with it to start a fire. So I thought about maybe a candle. So I'm going to bring these little candles along. This is so funny. This is just like those shows Alone, because I did this the other night and it worked, and now I can't get it lit. Okay, I got a flame. So this does not require any fuel. It's just cotton rope. And of course you would probably need to have replacement if you have to use it very often. But then you pull it down, this little ball snuffs it out, and then it's ready for the next use. And once again, it only works when the cotton rope is already singed, and then this clicker will light an ember on it. But I got a flame. And since I have a flame, now I know I can start a fire, because I do this in my wood stove all the time. These are Firestarter cubes. There are 72 of them. So that's good. I feel like that would help you a lot to get through, especially in an emergency. You've got a flame. You light one of these little fire starter things. These things light very quickly, and they burn long enough to start an actual fire. So you put this you put one of these squares at the bottom, put a few little twigs around it, get the fire going with this, and then you can put bigger logs on it. I do this with my wood stove in my RV, so I know that. So you can see that fire starting is not a simple thing. I think you need to have backup plans for fire starting. So that's the beginning of a fire. Once you had this thing started, once you light one of these, I know you can get wood to light on fire. So I feel good about these. And then after these ran out, maybe you could use little tiny twigs or something. I don't know. But I mean, I've tried that and that doesn't really work very well. Maybe with a candle it would. But I tried using little brush and little twigs with this thing. It didn't work at all. So interesting, right? And there's no wind. It's not like wind was the problem. As a matter of fact, wind helps this, because it's just like an ember in the wood rope that's burning, and if any wind gets on it, it lights up. It provides it more oxygen. So wind actually helps this. So yeah, so I'd start with this. Of course, I'm going to buy a couple of lighters and stick them in here too. But you know how lighters are. After a couple of years, they might not work. So I'm not going to depend on them. This I love because it would last forever. Until the rope burns out, of course. I have 2 of them. And then light the candle, and then light these fire starters. My friend gave me these candles for just emergencies in the RV. I don't really have lighting emergencies in the RV because I run solar lights. So there's never really a time where I don't have some light in the RV. I don't really need candles for lights. My solar lights don't have any other energy other than the sun, and they will hold a charge for several days, even if it's cloudy. So I don't have need for light in my RV, but I can imagine if you were in a survival situation, having these would be very helpful. And this is something you use in a wood stove. It's a straw. You know, I know that these are used for people who want to reduce waste and not use paper straws. They're also excellent for starting a wood fire. You can get your oxygen in right where it needs it in the fire, and it really helps the fire get going. This is a saw to saw off pieces of wood. So if you're anywhere that has trees, anywhere, then you could saw off a piece of wood with this little saw. This is a wood stove. So this is the very cheapest kind of wood stove you can get. It's a camping wood stove. I don't think I paid more than $20 for this either. Of course, I like to buy things on sale on Amazon, but I wanted a wood stove that looked like it would stand up, because some of them don't look, it looks like they fall over. But this one does look like it will stand up because it has these hinges. And that, see? That's something I feel like I can do. And I like the simplicity of this because this is where you put the wood in. You put the wood in here, and you can put a bunch of logs in here just sticking out and move them in as the fire burns. So it's very small, but I think if you were in an emergency situation and you just were freezing, it would be really nice to have this. This is very mobile. You could put it very close to the front door of the tent, maybe even in the tent if you cut a hole in the top of the tent. Probably not safe, but because it doesn't have an exhaust pipe, but still, I think it would be very useful in a survival situation. Just once you get the fire started, then start stacking wood in here and just keep feeding wood in as it burns. It's also a cooking stove, so it comes with this little piece, and that is what I would boil water on, or, you know, heat up grits or beans or whatever right on there. So I like the simplicity of this one, and I like the stability of it. A lot of them are teetering on little legs, and I just know myself, I'm going to knock that thing over. There's going to be fire everywhere. It's going to be a mess. And, you know, I have dogs and cats too, so you're never going to be sure that somebody's not going to knock it over. So this, though, I feel like it's a square, pretty stable, and, you know, not as easy to knock over. So I really like this, and it was very cheap. If you wanted to go up one step above what I've got here, you could buy a $40 tent that has a hole in the roof that's made out of fireproof material, and get a camp stove and put the pipe out of the tent. But you have to buy like a $100 camp stove, which I'm not going to do. But yeah, it's a camp stove. It's a wood stove. You have it inside your tent. The exhaust goes outside the tent up through the roof. And I mean, that sounds nice. It's just a little bit more expensive version of what I'm doing here. This is for emergencies. It's not, I'm not investing a lot of money, but I'm just trying to provide for situations that might happen. So that's fire. I think that's really important. The other thing for fire is just wood matches. The danger with wood matches in a survival situation is they might get wet if it rains. So you can't depend solely on them, but hey, they could come in handy if you can figure out how to keep them dry. If you're out somewhere and you set up a little tent, you've got your fire going, you're getting warm, and the dogs and cats are okay, you've got a little something to eat, then just think about it getting to be night. It's going to be so dark. It's so dark in these places at night. I mean, even in this park that I work at, it's just pitch black here at night. And it's wonderful because you can see the stars, which is great, you know, but if you're used to being, you know, in a lit area, you can't see anything. You can't see where you're walking, anything. So I just think having matches, having maybe candles, something to have some light would be awesome. Maybe a camping light would be a good idea too, but anything that requires rechargeable energy, I don't want to depend too heavily on that kind of stuff, because you know that you're going to forget to charge it. And then I like all this stuff because it doesn't run out of fuel. You can use it for years to come. And I've tried to think through all of that as I put things in this bag, because I might not open this bag for another year. You know, who knows? When I actually start traveling, it'll be probably more than a year from now. And yeah, I don't know. But just think about this. Even if you're on the freeway in some of these small towns in Texas, or outside of the small towns in Texas, there's, you know, 30 miles of pitch black highway and nothing in between. Not a gas station, not a store, not a person's house, nothing. You could just be out in the middle of nowhere driving and driving and driving. And I've often thought, you know, what if I had a flat right now, or something happened? Yeah, I mean, you're just in the middle of nowhere. It's not like you're going to call AAA and they're going to be there anytime soon or anything like that. You're just really out there. So it's funny, living in an RV, off-grid, you know, trying to be off-grid, thinking about, you know, in the future, traveling towards BLM land, like Bureau of Land Management land, or national parks, or, you know, little camping areas, any of that kind of stuff. It's so freeing and it's so fun. But even though it's a simple life in terms of, you know, you're not being entertained by going out to eat all the time, or by going to movies all the time, or, you know, you don't have a lot of the in-city things that you're depending on for entertainment. So it's a much simpler life. You go on walks, you go on bike rides, you know, it's very stress-free, and you're outside, which is therapeutic. So therapeutic for those of us that have lived our lives inside an office building. Being outside by itself is just like therapy, you know. So yeah, all that's great, and living a simple life is great. But I will tell you, my first year in the RV, I tried to do everything extremely simple. I'll buy one heater, one air conditioner, and, you know, it'll be enough. It'll be fine. Everything is bare minimum. I have these few little dishes. I have, you know, 2 little pots. I have a dry goods shelf to make bread with if I wanted to. And everything is super simple. Well, what I found out after the first year was that it's a simple life, but you're in the middle of nowhere, so you have to provide for yourself. So you can't be thinking, I'm going to get by on one heater, because sometimes it's 10 degrees outside. You're not going to get by on one heater. It's freezing, you know, it's so cold. And I have the added thing of having my dogs and cats, so I'm always thinking about them not getting sick, you know. So yeah, if it's 11 degrees outside, you're going to need at least 3 of those little room heaters, you know. And so I bought extra. I have 3 for inside. I only have to turn the 3rd one on if it's freezing cold, if it's like under 30 degrees. Otherwise, 1 or 2 heaters is fine. And then I have another heater, a 4th heater, that's like a little garage heater that I put on my water tank when it's a hard freeze. Like this weekend, it's going to be in the 10s or 20s. It's really going to be a hard freeze. And I disconnect all my water stuff, and I put that heater pointed towards my water tank. And then I don't use the water in the RV while it's freezing outside like that. I just have that heater going. Then after it warms up again, then I'll start using the water in the RV. Until then, I just use a 5-gallon water bucket with a little spritzer on the top that you can tap the top and water comes out, drinking water and stuff. So I'm just going to be using that. Like this weekend, for example, it's going to be really, really cold for 3 days. And so we'll be in there, probably all the heaters running. I have a wood stove as well inside the RV. That'll be running. And then I have the garage little heater that's going to be on my water tank. And all that stuff will be going. And that's because you have to provide for yourself if you're out here in the middle of nowhere. Don't think that you're going to get by on simple. It's not going to work. The other thing that happened to me is that my car, which I thought that I would grow old with this car, my Honda Element, which, you know, they run for 300,000 miles. My Honda Element just clunked out on me at like 150,000 miles about a year ago. And I was in one of these parks. I had just gotten there. I didn't know anybody I didn't know anybody well enough to say, could you drive me to the grocery store, you know? And I was a 35-minute walk to the nearest gas station. And the nearest town was 10 miles away. I mean, I was out there with no groceries, no car, no way to get anywhere except to walk. And so I sat there for a couple weeks just eating the food that I had in the RV, making stuff off my dry goods shelf, and just thinking, what am I going to do, you know? I didn't even have a way to go look at cars, to buy a car. I didn't have a way to get to somewhere to look for cars. You know, like you can look on Facebook Marketplace and find a car, go get it. No, I can't go get it. I don't have any way to get there. Even to the nearest town, which is 10 miles away, or the other town, which is 15 miles away. I didn't have any way to get over there. So, so through that experience, I learned that you have to provide for yourself. So now I have an electric bike, a motorcycle, and a used car. So if something happens to one of them, I use the other one. And the funniest thing is my electric bike, I swear, it's the best thing in the world to have. It's just awesome. You can just go. It doesn't even use very much energy from you. Like you can pedal a little bit. It's not very much. And yeah, I could go anywhere on that electric bike. I mean, I could easily go 10 miles, no problem. And of course, a motorcycle, the same thing. I could go get groceries in that. And obviously the car is the best thing, but you never know. What if you have a flat, or what if you know, you just never know. And when something goes wrong, you are out here alone. Now, I've been here a while, so I've made friends here. So like now I would have someone to call and ask them to help me. You know, could you drive me into town or something? And they would be fine with it because they also live out here and they know that there's no way to get to town unless one of your friends drives you. So yeah, I would be okay now. But when you're, you know, traveling, like the next park I go to, I won't know anybody when I get there. So you have to provide for yourself. And I did the same thing with air conditioners. I bought extra air conditioners. I have 2 window units. Window units I used to think were very tacky hanging out of an RV. But that was until it was 109 degrees outside and the electricity went out in my campsite. So it was really terrifying. By the time I got the RV closed up to move it to a place that might have electricity so I could run an air conditioner, it was already 101 degrees inside my RV. I had my dogs and cats in there. It was really scary for me. And once again, I was out there. I didn't know anybody. I just met the people that I was starting to work with. And there was nobody in the park. There was one camper in the park. She had electricity. So I thought, I'll drive down there and park next to her. And there's electricity down where they are. So anyway. So all that to say, I bought extra air conditioners. I just think you have to have extra of everything if you want to live like this. Because you have to depend on yourself. It's not like there's an easy way to fix things. I don't have a generator right now. I think that would be a wise thing for me to have. I do have a lot of those Jackery batteries with solar panels that you can charge the batteries with. That's a slower process, and you have to catch the sun just right to actually charge the battery. So it's more of a process, but you know, that's what I was depending on instead of having a generator. Yeah, I can just take the duffel bag out and roll it, because wherever I am, I'm also going to have to deal with my animals. You know, like I'm going to be carrying Petunia because she can't walk very far. She's a Shih Tzu, so I mean, survival with the Shih Tzu, you have to make them comfortable. That's the first rule, you know. So yeah, so that's my idea. Have a survival kit in my car. Okay. Oh, one more thing I want to tell you. I watch YouTube channels, and one of them that I watch is called Kyle Hates Hiking. That's Kyle Hates Hiking. He doesn't actually hate hiking. He loves hiking, but that's the name of his YouTube channel. And he tells these stories about people who get out on the Appalachian Trail or the Pacific Coast Trail, I think that's what it's called. And you know, they walk for 1,500 miles across these trails. So they're camping every night, and they meet up with other people who are camping, and they hike and hike and hike and hike. And so that's a survival situation. So a lot of the things that I've thought of is from watching his channel, and the things that happen to you when you get out in the heat or in the cold, and just things that you need, you know. The stories that he tells when people get into trouble, a lot of times just having a tent and a sleeping bag in their backpack would have helped a lot. Even a crappy sleeping bag, just something. You know, a lot of them go on a hike and they think, oh, I'll be fine. It's only going to be 2 hours and I'll be in the next town. And then something goes wrong and they're out there overnight and it's really cold. And so that's something that I've been thinking about because I watch his channel a lot. The other thing that he really emphasizes is GPS devices, like an SOS GPS device, and I am going to get one of those. Because, like I said, if you're out on 100 miles of freeway with nothing out there, and you're out there all by yourself, it sure would be nice to be able to hit an SOS button and have, you know, somebody come get you. A lot of those places out there don't have cell phone coverage. So those SOS devices are run off satellite, so you always can use them no matter where you are. Yeah. Okay. I can't think of anything else right now. If you think of anything, please leave it in the comments, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay, bye.